Last up on today's show is some news about China. I already talked about this. The U.S. Sailed a Coast Guard cutter and a Navy-guided missile destroyer. This was on August 27th through the Taiwan Strait. The Coast Guard. How could the Coast Guard be sailing through the Taiwan Strait? This is the far side of the Pacific Ocean from California. There's absolutely no need for the Coast Guard to ever have ships over there. But the fact that we would be selling those things through the Taiwan Strait is just so unnecessarily provocative. I'm sure to the Chinese seems a hell of a lot, like it does to me, which is essentially the Americans are claiming the Pacific Ocean as an American lake, and the Chinese could use it at the permission of the Americans. While we're sailing the ships through the Taiwan Strait, we have our Vice President Kamala Harris on, maybe one of her first big, kind of foreign policy trips, heading to Vietnam and Singapore. In Vietnam, she made a whole bunch of promises. I think she delivered 6 million vaccine doses and said that the U.S. would give $23 million in COVID aid to Vietnam. She also offered $36 million over 5 years from USAID to help Vietnam, what they say, fight climate change. She offered more visits by U.S. warships. These would be destroyers and aircraft carriers. I'm not quite sure if Vietnam wants this, but by, kind of the United States establishment Warhawk worldview, their idea is that we sail these ships, to Vietnam. We sail them through the Taiwan Strait to show China, or not maybe the Taiwan Strait, but also like the South China Sea and the territories that Vietnam claims in order to, show China that we're tough and we mean business. She said that the U.S. was concerned about countering China in the South China Sea, and needs the U.S. and Vietnam need to work together to increase pressure on China. The last thing, I guess, of really interesting note to Kamala's visit to Vietnam was that it was actually delayed today because there was some strange symptoms that somebody at the U.S. Embassy in Ho Chi Minh City exhibited. This was blown up into Havana Syndrome, and that was trending for a day. Completely dropped off the radar. I'm sure the person just had a headache and was a fake thing as always. I kind of thought that this was maybe going to be spun into some kind of hero story for Kamala Harris. But maybe all the news on Afghanistan really prevented that from happening. The U.S. Also offered to deploy a third Coast Guard cutter to Vietnam, again asserting that now the South China Sea, as well as the entire Pacific Ocean, is some kind of American lake. In Singapore, and we have a write-up here from the typical co-host of the show, Will Porter, and Will writes that VP Harris says Beijing threatens rules-based order and national sovereignty, and in broadside on China during Singapore visit. And so, he hits on a lot of the big stuff here, that this was rhetorical. China's bad. They violate the rules-based international order, and they violate country sovereignty, even though, say, like Yemen, Somalia, Iraq, Syria are all countries that want the U.S. to leave, and yet we're there bombing it against those countries' will. So this is just a bunch of hypocrisy. Here she says that we also need to confront China, very similar rhetoric around human rights and needing peace, stability, and the freedom of seas in the South China Sea. I think this is a real effort to build up Kamala Harris' international, record and portfolio. I'm not sure she's going to see any real success out of it, although it'll likely be spun that way. Last story I have today is from antiwar.com by Dave DeCamp. U.S. military officials claim China will surpass Russia as a nuclear threat. Now, in one way, this doesn't make any sense at all. China maintains an arsenal of around 300 to 350 nuclear weapons, while Russia has 600. However, at a certain point, all these nuclear weapons are overkill. And if the U.S. is really looking at, picking a fight with China, then China's nuclear arsenal, may surpass Russia as a nuclear threat to the United States, but that's only because of U.S., in my interpretation, U.S. hostile policy actions.